Okay, got
Hello,
it.
hi, and thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube channel. I have a lovely guest on my channel today who I'm going to interview, and I'm really excited to have this lovely lady on. She's called Dianne Lurie, and she's from Scotland in Edinburgh, and she's an amazing lady. Dianne, thank you for coming on this video channel today, my YouTube. I'm very happy to have you here. How are you, Dianne? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, hi, Frankie. It's lovely to be here. Thanks so much for having me. It's always interesting to speak to you. You make me more interesting, so I'm looking forward to it. So a little bit about me. My background was in brand building, brand strategy, and personal development kind of grew out of that. And one of the strings to my bow now is that I'm an executive coach and I work with actually quite a wide variety of people. And what I hope to help them do is explore possibilities and unlock their potential. So I'm kind of thinking, well, what would make them feel fulfilled? Might get them unstuck if they're feeling a bit stuck. What does happiness look like for them? And what is it that they might not be able to see by themselves, but perhaps I can help them see?
So I'm actually a life coach myself as well,
I
Dianne,
know.
and I'm sure that executive coaching is a little bit different from life coaching. What's executive coaching about? Just to explain to us a bit clearer what that it actually is. Yeah.
Okay. So I suppose the context starts around senior leaders. So so it sounds as though, I know I'm being a bit hesitant, but it sounds as though it's when you want to do something around professional growth or professional development. And it absolutely does take that in. However, it can obviously go in lots of different directions. Um, and and I think that personal and professional go hand in hand. We need to think about who we are, our beliefs, our mindset, our values. Um, and that's how we develop holistically as a person. And then that can manifest itself in terms of what we're doing, like professionally, but also what we might do in the rest of our life. And some people don't really make that much of a distinction. You know, they are who they are. Um, and this is who I bring to work, and this is who I bring to home. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It really does make sense, Dianne. I like the way you touched on personal and professional development. I mean, I I, I honestly feel that it starts from personal and then it goes from professional development. So
Mhm.
what I'm gathering from you there, Dianne, what you're actually saying is that executive coaching is being you have to be professional to do it. And I'm assuming that's working with big organizations, is that right? Or working with companies or working with different kind of structures in companies. Is that how I'm relating to it as well, Dianne? Yeah, is that right?
That is an important dimension. Who do we work with? And sometimes we, as you say, it's the organization that might be the catalyst. Um, and actually, I really like working with small to medium enterprises or entrepreneurs or something like that, where decision making um, is really possible. Do you know what I mean? It's not constrained. Um, so I like that. But I also would say that I also work with people direct who aren't coming through their organization, but might be feeling work is not meaningful to me in the way it used to be, or perhaps it hasn't been for some time. People look back and think, how did I get on this path? you know, there hasn't been that much sort of intentionality. They've responded to opportunities and they've done really, really well. They are in kind of objective terms a big success. But perhaps roundabout, it could be any time from their 30s onwards, they kind of wonder, well, am I kind of manifesting meanness, and what could that look like? And so that's another avenue. That is another avenue that can be really rewarding, for me as a coach, and for them as an individual. And sometimes I think that, when we discover what it is about their values and about their kind of passions that really light them up, then there's an opportunity to see if that can find a place where they are. And if it looks as though it can't, then they've got other avenues that they can feel kind of enthusiastic about. They can stay fresh, they can discover what it is that would keep their enthusiasm for work, perhaps take it to another level, and you'll know, I'm sure, tell me if this doesn't resonate, but with the pandemic, there was this great reassessment, and I think it's still going on. And a lot of that, I think, is, who am I at work? Does work value me, recognize me, acknowledge me? Can I be my authentic self? And I'm a big, big believer in authenticity, because I think it's a win-win. It really helps the individual feel that they're alive, they're who they are, and that authenticity benefits the organization as well, because you've got more engaged, more creative people working with you, and I think that I do think that authenticity is actually the source of competitive advantage. When we are more ourselves, our ideas are better. Do you know what I mean? Our collaborative efforts are better, because there's more intensity, if that makes sense. There's more you-ness, collaborating with another you-ness. Do you know what I mean? And boom, there's a spark.
I really like that, what you said, Dianne. I mean, the coaching industry, like you said, is very, very lucrative. It's a very rewarding and lucrative industry. And the feel for the 21st century and the times we're living in now, coaching is so vast, but it's such a powerful industry to be in. It's kind of the industry for the 21st century, but it's so vast, isn't it, coaching? It's so expansive and vast, and there's so much to learn about coaching, which I feel is absolutely amazing. And what I love about it as well, Dan, is that, I've just realized how many people have probably mentored or coached me, or how many people I've mentored and coached themselves. And when you think about it like that, you think, wow, isn't it amazing? That the importance of mentoring and coaching people, because sometimes we don't see some of the gifts and the values that we have, and other people can see the gifts and the values in us.
Yeah.
But I think that's where mentoring and coaching is really, really important, because we can see people's qualities, what they can't see, and a mentor and coach can really draw on them qualities. And I think as well, like you talked about as well, you talked about a win-win situation, Dianne. And I think it is a win-win situation with the coach and the mentee, because I think a real special relationship about mentoring or going to the coaching industry is that we both grow together. So we're both learning together, and we're
Yeah.
both learning so much and being really creative and drawing on our inner qualities, what we didn't have. So that's what else I love about the coaching industry, that I'm learning from the person who I'm coaching, and he's teaching me something about my life. So
Mm.
it makes it more of a win-win situation, and it makes it more rewarding as well, and more, exhilarating, as you say, to actually do it, because you're always learning and growing yourself.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really important that you touched on that, Dianne. Thank you for touching on that. And I think you was talking about being authentic, and one of the laws of life is about the law of authenticity. And then there's another five laws, about being creating values, the receptivity, you
Mhm.
know, influential, authentic, and the other law is about being what's the other law? But yeah, being probably true to yourself,
Yeah.
being
Aligned.
mystical,
Yeah.
being authentic, being
Mm.
magical you know? That's another law as well. If we can follow these laws and keep them in our lives, we can become very successful and become the people who we want to be, like you say,
Yeah.
being authentic, which is really important. And you've heard that saying, haven't you, that, try to be authentic because everybody else is taken.
I love
So I found that
that.
quite funny, quite interesting that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to stand out, it's hard to be yourself. But I do believe if you've got your own brand and you're building your products and your brand and who you are, and like you say, being true to yourself,
Mm.
it's very easy to be creative and it's very easy to influence people, because you believe in yourself. And it's about that real believing in who you are. So
Yes.
thanks for
Yes.
touching on that, Dan. I think it was really important that you touched on that for the viewers. And Dianne, you talked about self-acceptance and
Excuse me.
self-love, and that's really important because it really is. And I've realised for me at such a young age and growing up how kind of we don't do that. There's no
Mm.
self-acceptance or no self-love and no self-importance. So it feels to me the values are all wrong what we're being taught. Would you like to touch on that, Dianne? What's important to you about self-acceptance and self-love? And what do you feel
Mm.
about values in life today? Are we being taught the right values, or is it something that we've got to look at a lot deeper for ourselves and for the next generation?
Mm. So when I'm thinking about helping people tap into their potential and see what it could be, what those possibilities look like, something that I encounter quite a lot is that people might not tell me what it is they really, really want. And they might not tell themselves what they really, really want. Um, they kind of trim their wishes to fit with, you know, I suppose their self-esteem, their self-love, their self-acceptance. Some people feel that they're not entitled to have what they really want, or perhaps they're not lucky enough, to have what they really want. And so that brings us to that self-acceptance, self-love kind of issue, which I do think coaches like yourself, I hope, like myself, we can hold up the mirror, like you were saying just now, we can hold up the mirror to them and show them that they are of enormous value and lovable. And I think there is something in the relationship with our clients where it might take a different might go at different sort of paces, but at some point, the individual will know that they can tell us anything. You know, if we're doing our jobs right as a coach or mentor, they'll know that we accept what they say, you know, that we don't sort of censure or judge. And I think that's a really therapeutic, in the wider sense of the word, a really therapeutic experience for people that they might not have had in many other places, you know. So when I think we give them that sense that they're okay, then I think the dreams can get bigger, and their dreams, and also and can get more personal, if you like, you know, personal to their deeper values. Um, and I think that there is a distinction. I don't know how you feel about this, but I think there's a distinction between changing perhaps aspects of what we do and how we think, the distinction between that and changing who we are at a core level. And I kind of like to make that distinction because so many people I meet think they're not good enough and think that that is the same as having to change kind of like in a wholesale way, you know. And I think there's all kinds of changes we can make about what we want to be and what we want to do. But I think we have to understand that we are precious at a very core level at the same time as we might want to make changes. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. I mean, you talked about, at a core level, and there is core values in life, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think people need to, probably people don't know enough about what the core values of life really are. People don't really, truly know enough about who they are and themselves. Because I do feel as well, and I talked about this before, Darren, that we brought up with the wrong values. And the more I get older, the more I understand more about who I am and loving and accepting who I am. But,
Mm.
it's a case of me going out and finding who I am through
Yes.
self-development or through personal development, or just going out and just coming back into education, you know. And that's what I wanted to do, and that's exactly what I did. And I
Mhm.
found a really true and deeper meaning to myself because I wanted to know what was my existence, what was my presence in this world,
Mm.
you know. And
Mm.
it took me a time of really getting rock bottom in my life where everything was just, I wasn't happy with everything. Work, the relationships, my bad habits, friends, just everything. And I had
Mm.
to really self-accept myself and self-love myself. And that took a lot of pain and challenging and suffering and reclusiveness to get to know who I am. I had to get myself away from people who weren't making me happy. So
Mm.
I feel like when you're talking about self-acceptance and this self-love, it's really important to accept that, look, I'm not really happy.
Yes.
I even have to change my faith and my beliefs because I wasn't happy. And I think that's where the journey really starts. That really importance of self-acceptance and self-love starts when you start to look at yourself and say, you know what? Rather than me blaming everybody else for my problems and the world around me, maybe I need to start looking at myself and start digging a bit deeper. And
Mm.
it can be challenging, especially for men, because we're
Mm.
not taught about self-acceptance, self-love, and learning to love ourselves. We're taught about being macho and boys don't cry and
Yes.
drink and take drugs like what I did and mess around with women thinking, oh, I'm all right, I'm great.
Mhm.
Deep
Mhm.
down, we're not. Only deep down, we're not. So
Yes.
when you talk about, values and, the core levels, I'm talking about the core levels of value. What we need to value our own lives first. We really need to be in love and be true to who we really are. It takes a lot of digging.
Mm,
It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of, you know, acceptance and self-love, because you have to go on this journey with yourself. It's like
yeah.
this total transformation of your own life. As I call it in my buddy's faith, in my faith and my beliefs, we call it changing karma. And that karma can run so deep, and it might take years and years and years for you to change that. But the process is that that something needs to change in my life, or I need to do something different in my life. And that may mean me going through a lot of hardships and struggles and reclusiveness and really looking at myself for who I am, and yeah, just really being in your own space and being
Mm,
comfortable in your own space.
mm,
And it's not
mm,
easy, but once we understand the beauty and the power of it and how much we're going to benefit from it as a person, you know, we have to understand as well what we talked about in the values of influence. That's how we influence people,
yeah.
because we change so much in our lives. People think, well, what's Frankie doing right? Why has he changed so much? What's he doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
There's an aura around that. Yes.
exactly. There
Yeah.
is an aura around that, and this aura, I mean, you're going to touch on what you talked about before, but this aura, yeah, it's a really bright glow, isn't it?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
a
Yes.
presence of. I'm really
Yes.
proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself for what I've done.
Mm. It's
I'm
lovely.
not trying to fit in. I'm trying to feel I've got to be part of, this. I've just got to
Mm,
be me, be the
mm,
best me I can be, and be the best coach or executive coach or life coach that I can be.
mhm.
Believing in other people, for me, is really important as well. I know you believe in yourself as an executive coach. If you didn't believe in yourself, you won't be an executive coach, or I wouldn't be a life coach. So just us doing our role and what we're doing inspires so many people that they can do it as well. And to be really honest and
Absolutely.
true with who we are, and to share that story with people.
Mm,
So you talked as well about what makes us so self-critical.
mm.
Would you say you're self-critical, Dianne? Are you a self-critical person?
Yes. Yes, I am. I have quite a well developed inner critic. Um, and so I really I really empathize and can spot it. And I suppose for a long time, um, I I probably wasn't aware that there was an option, that this was kind of learnt in a way, um, and that we don't we don't have to accept that as an approach to life. Um, and I think that how we form ideas about ourselves um, often come at an early stage from important figures in our lives. Um, and sometimes we learn things that we think are just the way it is, that these are kind of rules that are givens, if that makes sense, and we have to
Yeah.
accept them. But I suppose, although I do have a strong inner critic, I now know that I do, and I kind of know where it comes from mostly. And that gives us freedom. So I think my inner critic is less strong than it used to be. It's less active. But more than that, I think I've got tools and awareness about it. Um, and one of the things I love to do actually is with clients is to help them appreciate that these things have often come from external sources, and that now as adults we've got options. We can make our own mind up about things. We can be kinder to ourselves. We can, I suppose, get into our adult when we notice that we've gone down either the parent sort of ego state or perhaps some kind of child state. And not, these aren't necessarily bad things, but I do think that sometimes when we're kind of triggered and think, and struggle with self-acceptance and self-love, it's often because we've taken on board, we've slipped into what it felt like when we were much younger and learnt these rules or messages that were very judgmental. Because often adults in children's lives want to keep us safe, do you know? And that often comes from a really good place. But it can also make us feel that we're failing when we don't do what we've been told we should do. And those shoulds might not be right for us. They might not be our own shoulds. And when we kind of have that awareness, then we can be more who we are, more our core values. We can learn to let things go that we thought were the only way that things could be. And that can be quite scary, because who are we when we don't have those beliefs? But we can find our own, as you say, go really deep, be with ourselves, and discover who we are, what we think. And I think that's back to the authenticity, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yeah. Very, very interesting. What you talked about there. Very interesting. Um, I think we're all self-critical. I'm
Mm.
more self-critical now. The fact that I'm an entrepreneur and the fact that I have to look at myself on video and look at myself all the time now, even in the mirror when I'm motivating myself in the morning,
Oh yeah,
I can be very
yeah,
self-critical,
yeah,
at
yeah.
least having an awareness of who I am and probably feeling I can do better. But you're
Mm-hmm.
right. I think sometimes we've got to really love ourselves for who we are, and remember people we're inspiring. The people we're inspiring. We seem to forget that.
Mm.
And nobody's perfect, and I've realized that myself. Nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So with being self-critical, I think it's really important as well to develop critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
really have critical thinking, because when you critical think, you you're thinking about really important aspects what don't just affect my life, but affect other people's lives as well. So we can have this self-critic, as we talked about, Diane, and what you talked about, which is great, and being in touch with our ego.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can have this real critical thinking to remember that my thoughts are really important and what I think is important for other people as well. That they have joy or they have happiness out of their lives.
Yeah,
And what I want to achieve in my life, it can affect other people's lives and make them happy as well. But
yeah.
that's what I think is really important about critical thinking. I think we don't do enough of it as people. I think sometimes, and I want to touch on it because a lot of people are controlled by emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a lot in my culture, I do a lot of emotional intelligence, which is really important. And so many people are governed by their emotions, and that's not critical thinking. So I think it's
Mm.
really important that people need to be in touch with emotional intelligence, but have this real critical thinking as well as being there self-critical as well. It's like a balancing in their life, a real balance in their life that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
my
really
thoughts and the
interesting.
actions I take, yeah, are really important as well. Other
Mm.
people, to take the real right
Mm.
actions or right thoughts for their own lives, to be an example of that so people can take that into their own lives and be responsible for that, you know?
I do.
So
Mm.
thank you so much, Diane, for answering that
Oh,
question
not at
very
all. I mean,
elegantly.
no, I think your perspectives are so interesting. Really, really interesting. They are inspiring. And I think they show that, we are on very long journeys, and
Very long journeys. But it's that first step in it, Diane.
isn't it?
That's the
Yeah,
most important step. That
yes,
people
yeah.
can realize and understand that.
No,
Go on that
absolutely.
journey. Go and
Yes,
explore, you know?
yes. And I suppose the excitement as well that can come with that, because we might very well start off with goals or even a vision. And that's a common thing in coaching, isn't it? That we ask people to articulate their goals and so on. Um, Actually, though, as we travel along our paths, goals can change because we just don't know how we are going to change.
What's beautiful, isn't it? Like you
Yeah,
said, Dan, that's what's exciting,
yeah,
exhilarating. You know, it should be like that. It should be a journey, of
yeah,
excitement. As long as we
yes,
don't give up, that's a key, really.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So growth and change are fantastic, aren't they, Diane?
Hmm.
So I'm looking forward to hear what has been your growth and change of your life. What has been fantastic, your growth and change of your life. Because you are fantastic, Diane, and you're going to tell us why you're fantastic.
Well, um, I think, to be sort of really honest, the fact that I can listen to you say that, um, you telling me that I'm fantastic, and my response is nowadays is like, well, I can accept that, do you know? Whereas some time ago, I wouldn't have been able to accept that and wouldn't have been able to believe it.
It's
So
interesting.
yeah, I would have really struggled to take that in and to think that it it was true. I thought that um my worth was very much bound up with achievement. Um, and I think achievement is still it has an important place. But I think, as you've touched on, there's something beneath that, which is who am I? And can I can I do some good for other people?
Mm. Yeah, I'm sure you have done, and I'm sure you will do. Yeah,
Thank you.
I definitely believe that. But I know exactly where you're coming from as well. I know exactly where you're coming from because that's what growth and change is about, really, isn't it? It's about I think sometimes you gotta want to grow, you gotta want to change.
Mm,
Sometimes people don't want to grow or don't want to change. I think that's why you probably went to executive coaching. That's probably why I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I wanted to change. I always like to challenge myself or push myself to the limits of my comfort zone. I want to
yeah.
expand that comfort zone and be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes, that's lovely. I
You
love
know,
that. Yes, yes.
yeah,
And not to feel that something's wrong when you feel uncomfortable. Instead, it's actually a sign, isn't it, that there's an opportunity here.
exactly, exactly, yes. So you've really talked on some really, we're just going to round up now, but you really talked on some really interesting thoughts and ideas, what we've really talked about. And I really like what you've actually talked about, Diane. It's really got me to,
Same here.
think about me as well. And some of the core values I need to look at in myself and the core values you need to look at in yourself.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
just want to touch on one thing because it's really important. And I just want to ask this. I know men, we have a lot of ego. And I always say this, men, we've really messed the world up. I honestly feel that, yeah. So do women have egos? I couldn't look at you and say you've got an ego, Diane, but do you think women have egos? Not as dominant, as bad, as powerful as men, but you feel women have egos, and how do we control it? How do women control their egos if they have an ego?
Yes, yes. So I'm sort of answering this maybe a little bit sort of like obliquely, but for men and women, I would suggest um, there can be, um, I suppose, an anxiety about being wrong. That that a very big driver is to be right, and our society kind of rewards that, and we grow up with that expectation, and that we must be seen to be right, and if we're wrong we lose a bit of respect for ourselves. And I think by contrast that being able to not know and being able to be wrong um, is paradoxically a sign of great strength. Um, so, and I think that, great leaders come from that place, great colleagues, great human beings come from that place, that we might be right, we might be wrong, but actually there's something more important about that, but more important than that, which is to explore and enable everybody to give their gifts. Yeah,
We're more deeply connected than that, aren't we? There's more
yeah,
going on to us than that.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
definitely
definitely.
right there, Diane. Definitely right. Something more pure and more deep and more meaningful.
Yes.
I'm seeing it in the world now. What I'm seeing in the world now is a lot of ladies who were prime ministers.
Mm,
And I
mm.
think it's amazing. We need more women as prime ministers. We need this kind of soft power.
Yes,
And the
yes.
reason why we need soft power is because I feel when we have soft power, men can be more in touch with their femininity.
That's perfect. I
Does
was
that
just
make sense?
going,
Yeah.
yeah, I was actually thinking, there are, the emotional intelligence, the empathy, when men are more able to tap into that, it usually results in their being happier. And the ego that you were talking about before reduces because there's a desire for a bigger outcome. They feel more
Yeah.
secure, um, and success can come from any place. And if, say, a man is a leader, then when he's got that sort of power, he sees his role not as necessarily being right, but as being able to bring out the best in others and indeed himself, and that requires kind of like that not knowingness, that ambiguity maybe, but that wanting to empower the other. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
So
no, you're right, Diane. You're definitely right. I love what you said, and it's about sometimes learning from our mistakes, and do we want to learn from our mistakes?
yeah, indeed.
I think that's really
Yes,
important as well.
yes, yes. And can I get over a mistake?
Mm.
Is my sense of self, inextricably linked with, whether I do or don't make a mistake. And that takes us back, I think, to well, who we are beneath our behavior. You know.
Exactly. Exactly. And like you said, yeah, the importance of getting over mistakes, seeing mistakes for what they are. And it comes down from what you said at the start of the our session today about um personal professional development.
Yeah.
It starts from there, doesn't it? Yeah. To
Mm.
really understand that mistakes are part of who we are and they can only make us a better person and the
That's
more
lovely.
level-headed
Yeah.
person with values, you know, and a real balanced life of who we are. So
Indeed.
Dianne, thank you so much for
Oh, thank you.
doing this video. Thank you so much for doing this this amazing video, and I've really got to know a little bit more about who you are and you know, some really important topics what we talked about and aspects of life which are really important for us as adults and for young adults as well, which I'm passionate about as well.
I
So
know.
Dianne, thank you so much for being on. If you'd like to leave any information, say like the viewers or for the audience, if you want to watch of who you are, what you do, have you got any contacts, anything like that, any social media contacts, anything you'd like to leave if people want to get hold of you or maybe they might want to work with you, Dianne?
So I would love to hear from people who might just like a chat or just to see if they've got issues or wishes that they'd like to talk about. Then they'll find me on LinkedIn. My name's Dianne Lurie. And I'd love to hear from people.
Well, Dianne, thank you so much. I told you it's going to be a great video with a fantastic lady, Dianne Lurie, and she certainly is, isn't she? So you'll find her on LinkedIn.
Yes, 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 yes. And I
And
just
my
like to
name is
say
Frankie
thank you.
Kington,
Yes.
known as the Wise Entrepreneur. If you like this video, hit the notification bell, leave us some comments below. I'm on social media, empowering youth development, yeah, life coach, entrepreneur, and you can get my YouTube channel as well, life coaching and empowering youth development. So thank you so much for tuning
Thank you.
in. I appreciate you all, audience. Thank you so much, Darren, for being here. I really appreciate you being on, and I've really looked forward to interviewing you today, and I've really learned so much from you, and you are a fantastic lady. And thank you so much, Darren. I appreciate you, and thank you all. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye, Dianne. I'll see you
Take
soon, my
care.
dear
Thanks
friend.
so much. Take care. It's been lovely.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.